Good afternoon, everyone. If you could say in the chat that you can hear me, that would be great. Thank you for all coming here. I think we just need to give you a few more minutes because attendees are still joining us. Thank you very much for the chat. Wow, it's great to see the familiar faces that in the chat, and also thank you for the greetings from South Africa. It's a fun exercise today. Just before we start, if you could tell me where you're connecting from today. Wow, it's amazing. So we have South Africa, we have Vilnius, in Lithuania, we have France, Saudi Arabia, welcome. Okay, London, New York, fantastic. Guildford, thank you, Peter. Great to see you here. Okay, so shall we give another? Okay, thank you, Priyanka, London, UK, excellent. I just want to give a few more minutes so that we have a chance to connect, that everyone has a chance to connect, because I see the number of participants increasing. Oh, congratulations, welcome from Riyadh. I'm very excited to see my friends here and also participants from all over the place. I'm originally from Lithuania, so I'm always happy to see my friends and family from Vilnius. And I'm excited to see my colleagues from London, and I'm excited to see other professionals connecting to us from different places around the globe. And I'm happy that we have participants from the Middle East as well. So this is very, very exciting. Because also, like today we are a lot of what we are covering today is also addressed to participants who are connecting to us from the Middle East. Okay, so I think we can start now. It's a good time to start, because if some participants will join us later, which is great, but I think everybody who wanted to start sharp, they're already here. So good afternoon, everyone. I'm delighted to be able to welcome you, so many of you today. My name is Saula Volskita. I'm a lawyer and a public accountant based in the UK. Over the last 14 years, I have been advising ultra-high net worth individuals like you who invest, operate, or relocate to the UK or Switzerland. My focus is asset protection, global wealth, structuring onshore and offshore. I'm regulated to give UK tax and immigration advice. I founded the family office in London in order to give comprehensive strategic advice early on in my client's journey as you invest, operate, or relocate to the UK or Switzerland. This webinar asks a question: why choose London to invest, operate, or relocate? The last couple of years were certainly very eventful, and the session today is an opportunity to remind ourselves why the UK is an attractive destination to invest, operate, or relocate. I was also looking at some investment partners in the Middle East and came back with the realization that although we have a lot of investments coming from the Middle East, the UK may not be the primary destination to make investments. And let me know, especially the participants who joined us from the Middle East, is my assertion is correct. I would like to invite you to take a look at our slide here. So we have a webinar structure on the slide. Just one moment. Yeah, the slide is coming up. Thank you very much for your patience. So this is our presentation today. So obviously we gave some time to connect for all the participants who wanted to hear about the webinar today. And you'll see from the structure that you will have three very short presentations today. So we're not going to bore you. And the panelists today are accomplished experts in their respective areas of expertise. More importantly, the panelists with me today are great people and they are my friends. And we have known each other for more than 10 years. So I'm very, very excited to be together with my panelists here. Now here are some housekeeping rules. So you may have noticed already the webinar is being recorded. However, Chatham House rules apply to our meeting today, and the rules say that participants are free to use the information received, but neither the identity nor the affiliation of the speakers nor that of any other participant may be revealed. During the webinar, there will be 3 poll questions that will appear on screen, and I very much encourage you to participate and make your views known. One of my favorite things in webinars like this is to ask a lot of questions. So therefore, I very much encourage you to do so. We will dedicate at least 15 minutes for our Q&A, and you will see button Q&A at the bottom of your screen. Feel free to press this button as early, anytime you want, but preferably as early as possible so that you could have you had the chance for your question to be answered. So I very much encourage you to take the opportunity and ask questions, because our panelists are very experienced and I'm absolutely delighted to have them today. And of course, you joined us because you have questions, you are interested in something. And you can also, when you ask a question, you can also specify the name of the person you are asking the question to. And now I'm delighted to give the floor to our moderator, Darius Dobras, who will introduce the panelists more. And one of the reasons why I invited Darius to join us today is because he has the expertise and experience in relation to Middle East and also Europe. So he has this unique expertise and knowledge. And I think he's a brilliant choice for our session today. So I give the floor to Darius and let the fun begin.
Excellent. Many thanks, and good afternoon to everyone, and I guess good morning to those in New York. Welcome to the seminar. As it was sort of stated, that the topic of the webinar is very interesting, is why to choose London for investing, operating business, or relocating here. And given the London status as truly global city, I mean, the 3 speakers today will provide some key highlights and actually quite interesting, sort of perspectives on this. So we'll have, sort of the chance to listen to them, but also ask questions and then sort of discuss any of these questions. So the format was already laid out for you. I mean, each of the webinar speakers and presenters will do a short sort of presentation of about 7 minutes or so. Before each presentation, we'll have a quick poll. So please participate. It will be interesting to hear. And then these poll questions, and we'll set the theme and some of the topics that will be discussed. If you have questions during the panelist sort of presentation, you can write in the chat, but these questions will be addressed later towards the end of the presentation when we have the sort of 15-20 minutes of Q&A. So bear in mind that the question might be sort of delayed for the answering a little bit later. So that maybe let's jump into the first panelist. Let me just do the quick introduction, and they will be able to tell about the background a little bit more before the presentation. So the first panelist will be Asel Jumabayeva-Wood is our first presenter and speaker. Asel is a corporate and banking partner and head of the real estate finance team at law firm Hamlins, which she joined in 2009 and then became a partner in 2017. Asel specializes in banking and corporate law and acts for banks and property investors in various corporate and financing transactions, and we'll be able sort of to cover that angle today. So that before Asel sort of jumps in, I think we have a poll question now to come up very quickly for a minute. So before Asel start speaking, let's see what the poll question is. And this is, would you look to invest in London or somewhere else across in the UK? So basically, yes or no. That means that, you know, are you looking to invest, or would you consider London as an investment sort of destination? So we'll run it for a short minute, and then we'll see what you have to say. And that's an easy question. Okay, so 20 seconds or so more, and then we jump into the results and the presentation. Okay, 10 seconds, and let's close then. Okay, so I don't know if we have the results because I don't have the sharing of the screen, but if somebody has it, it would be interesting to see. Okay, excellent. So yes, all right. So looks like the right audience. Number of questions will be addressed. So the vast majority, I mean, overwhelming majority, looking to do business in the UK. So to that, Asel, please go ahead. The floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Saule and Darius. I was really disappointed that I couldn't vote in that poll, because my answer would have been yes. And yes, because of the following reasons. So Kimberly, can we please have the second slide? Next slide. So during this very short presentation, I was given 7 minutes to talk you through a lot of things. I will touch on why people choose to invest in London, what they need to consider before they invest in London, including the choice of structures through which they need to carry out their business, and how Hamlins can help. Just by way of background, this building, we have office in this building, so I thought it was a pretty picture. Next slide, please. So location. I don't need to say much about it. We know that the London's location is uniquely advantageous. It's in Europe. It's between Americas and Asia, and London time zone allows the city working days to overlap with that in New York, Europe, Middle East, and Southeast Asia. So second point, reputation. Again, you probably don't need to hear much from me on this, but I found out that recently an organization which is called the Reputation Institute named London as the most reputable city in the world, with the highest score in all elements, including economy, administration, and general appeal. So we all know that London attracts the brightest workforce from around the world. And by investing in the UK, and particularly in London, investors can take advantage of that. Transparency, so high regulation of any kind of investment activity ensures that the rights of the investors are protected in the UK. And the World Bank regularly ranks UK as the 8th most business-friendly country in the world for startups, regulatory and legal points of view. And London and the UK in general has the highest score in ease of doing business in the UK across the globe. So liquidity, we know that the demand for commercial property or residential property in London is quite high. So the market is quite active. So there will always be demand for offices, industrial, retail space, and residential properties as well. I know that I'm mentioning residential, even though we are talking about commercial properties mainly here, investment in commercial properties. So growth in returns, despite recent turbulence in our political and economic situation, the London property still offers good investment returns. And I've seen some figures that, for example, returns on investment on office space has increased in London, but outside of London as well. And we all know that London as a tourist destination is very popular because it has incredible history. It has the best world attractions in the world, probably. And there are always visitors coming to London who will be staying in London hotels, eating in London restaurants, and doing shopping. So now the real stuff. Next slide, please, Kimberly. So before anyone decides to choose to start business in the UK or in London or invest in property, they need to obtain advice in the jurisdiction where they live, in the country where they live, and then take advice from tax advisor in UK, and Sauli can help you with that. And then probably just do sort of comparative comparison of tax position in your country and in the UK, and consider the advantages offered by the double tax treaties between the two countries. So depending on the tax advice that you receive, options which are available for doing business in the UK and in London are individual trader, partnership, setting up a branch or representative office of an overseas company, which you may have in your country, or incorporating a company or limited liability partnership in England, through which you will be doing business here. In connection with that, you will need to consider about filing and reporting duties. Like, for example, if you set up branch of an overseas company or incorporate a company or limited liability partnership, you'll have to think about submitting annual returns to company's registrar, where your entity will be registered. Irrespective of what kind of vehicle you choose to invest in, you'll have to deal with tax reporting. HMRC stands for His Majesty's Revenue and Customs Office. So whether you're individual or a company, you will need to submit tax returns here if you're investing in property in the UK. You also need to consider with compliance with other regulations, like, for example, if you're investing with other people, and we'll set up something which we know in England as a collective investment schemes, where investments are attracted from different individuals. You'll need to think what kind of rules you need to take into account in relation to financial services regulations, because there are certain restrictions on that. So those kind of things, they're very important. Next slide, please. Once you've decided how you're going to do, whether you will do it individually, whether you'll set up a company, whether you'll do it in partnership or set up a scheme, you will need to think about finance, whether you would like to invest 100% of your money, your own cash, or whether you would like to invest, let's say, 50% and borrow 50% from the bank to establish relationship with a lending institution here. Premises, if you would like to set up your own company or office, you probably need to find an office here. Or if you invest in an office building, you probably can reserve some space for yourself. Employing staff. So if you decide to set up a business here, you probably need to hire somebody. You don't have to, but you may decide to hire somebody, and you will need to probably set up have employment agreements signed. You will have to think about immigration issues for employees if you're bringing them from outside of the UK. You also need to think about accounting, because you probably would want to have the accounts prepared for submitting corporation tax returns. So let me go back about the employing staff. Sorry, apologies, I'm rushing through because the time is short. You can decide employee style, but you can also hire professional advisors who will help you to manage your business here. For example, you can employ a property managing agent who will represent you in your relationship with your tenants. For example, if you buy an office block or shopping mall or something like this, and you will have a lot of tenants paying you rent, so the property managing agent will be able to help you this, and for that you don't need to employ staff. So that's another option. As a property owner, you will be responsible for complying with health and safety regulations. So you will need to carry out periodic risk assessment in relation to the properties. And in connection with this, there is a point down the line, you'll need to obtain insurance. So it will be property insurance, it will be third parties liability insurance. It will be, if you employ staff, it will be employers liability insurance. So, and for this, probably the best option is to get an insurance broker to advise you on options available, and probably who would be able to help you with obtaining the most competitive insurance quotes. So insurance brokers will probably be one of your professional advisors whom you'll need to engage. So we mentioned tax advisors, we mentioned property managers, and now probably need to think about lawyers, because the transactions with real estate in the UK, they're structured in such a way that both parties will need to be represented by a firm of solicitors who are admitted to practice law in England. So you'll need to find lawyers to advise you on this, because it's not only the purchase, but it will be ongoing management of the property that will require legal input. And if and when you decide to dispose of a property, you'll also need to have solicitors acting for you. So taxation, we mentioned, reporting requirements. You need to be aware that whenever you invest money in the UK and you bring any kind of, you arrange a transfer of any funds from your bank account where you live to the bank account in the UK, the bank and any professional advisors whom you will instruct to act for you will ask you to provide documents confirming your identity. They'll prefer to meet you in person so that they confirm that you're a real person investing in the property in the UK. And they'll also ask you to provide a proof of funds. So you'll need to show where the funds originated from, if it's a family wealth, you will need to explain that to your advisors and to the bank. If it is earnings from your previous business, probably they'll need to ask, they'll probably ask for bank account statements in relation to your business in the country where you live. This is the main point. And compliance, ongoing compliance, you will need to think about, for example, if you set up an investment scheme, which I mentioned above, there will be ongoing compliance in relation to that. Company's house reportings, if you incorporate a company, and tax compliance, submitting tax returns and accounting to tax for tax. So next slide, please. Just our contact details. So please feel free to take a photograph of that and get in touch with me whenever you have a question. Thank you very much.
Excellent. Thank you, Sil. And then sort of to speed up, because given that we're a little bit behind the time, so I'll just jump into our second presenter, which is Honorable Richard Evans, Chief Executive Officer of Octavius GB, a high-level introduction services company, which Richard can sort of talk about a little bit more. He is a self-made media entrepreneur after selling his company back in 2002, and for the last 20 years has been focusing as a sort of high-level international connector, and conducts business across different sectors such as modular construction, timber, general construction supplies, biofuel, primarily across sort of the Baltic states, Europe, Asia, US, UK, and other parts of the world. So quite global. He actually was also responsible for bringing President Nelson Mandela to UK in 1990. And in other trivia, that Richard has nearly 30,000 followers on LinkedIn. So that's quite an interesting one. So Richard, the floor is yours, and and before actually Richard starts, let's put the poll. Forget about that. So a quick poll. Let's do that hopefully in 45 seconds or so. So the question is your product or service fit for purpose in the UK? So you can interpret that. Let's see if we have most of the answers. If we do that in less than a minute, we can. All right, so let's see. Okay, looks like people are very comfortable that the product or service is fit for the UK. So Richard, that, I mean, please, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much indeed, Darius, and also Soleil for arranging this. Indeed, Asel for her presentation. I'm actually based in Vilnius right now at the moment. I'm living between London and Vilnius, which is a huge pleasure. Such diversity in London, and coming to Lithuania, very gratefully introduced by the former commercial attaché of the Lithuanian embassy in London over 5 years ago. Gave me a fast track into Lithuania, which it kind of, if you flip it the other way around, of actually companies coming from any country, Lithuania GB is a concept that I set up to help primarily construction-led organizations come into what I consider the best capital, of course I would, into London, and other companies as well, myself living near the Edgware Road, which is very Middle Eastern to say the least. And that's what makes London really special. It's very diverse. We even have an Anglo-Indian Prime Minister now, I'm actually pleased to say. So it's a really unusual circumstance, the fact that London has a great transport system. It's incredibly multicultural. Food, as a big foodie myself, I think it's really important. And also the fact that you can get from one side of the town to the other fairly quickly using the metro. If you want more of a slightly scenic route, you can use a cab, etc. So there's lots of benefits to relocating your business, indeed living yourself if you're able to. There are tremendous opportunities in London, in the whole of the UK. It's a very fast-moving society. And despite the issues that we face with Brexit, by the way, I didn't vote for it, I think that it's a tremendous opportunity to trade, and it is a unique place. And what makes it so special is that even if you're walking down the road, you can hear a multitude of languages. Everyone generally feels at home in our capital, which is really good news. And switching between obviously Lithuania and the many countries I go to and coming back to London, it's a fantastic platform. I think that one of the things that some of the advice that I would give, obviously, there's a number of ways that you can enter the country to do business. And it's all about teaming up with the right partners, of which 3 of us here today are able to help. And it's about getting to know your network. It's about effective networking. It's about attending lots of networking, appropriate networking events, becoming a member of the Chamber of Commerce, and liaising with your embassy, which is really important, who are generally extremely helpful. There are many opportunities, and obviously being English speaking helps, or knowing someone that does. There's many great products and services from around the world that you can bring to London, who are very keen to explore international avenues. And so we've had a really good success rate. We've bought a few Lithuanian companies to do a few construction projects, very large ones as well, in the area of windows and modular construction, etc. So it's been a really good exercise during the last 5 years to get to know our partners here in Lithuania and indeed other countries. We're working with an American organization now that hopes to eventually bring modular construction to the UK, indeed to the Middle East and everywhere else. So it's having run an international business myself, I appreciate that it really is hard work initially and culturally as well, to get to know the right people, to make friends as soon as you can, to get used to how quick or how slow sometimes transport might run, depending on what time of the day and what's the most effective way to get around the city. So there's many avenues, there's many research platforms, there's many people that are there to lend a hand to get into the country and start trading as quickly as possible. I'm a Londoner myself, originally from Hertfordshire. I moved to London just over 10 years ago, but I've been trading in London for over 25 years. I only lived a few miles outside London. And now I'm delighted to say that London generally has improved all round, not just the entertainment, but as a big cultural community melting pot with people from all over the world that are very indeed welcome. And also the huge developments, for example, near to where Soleil lives, which is Battersea, which is over the first 3 or 4 phases, I think around 9 billion with Malaysian support. So we must be doing something right, despite these problems, despite these challenges that everyone's going through internationally, with various challenges thrown our way with COVID and the war in Ukraine, etc. However, things are looking extremely positive. We have a new PM, and that's good news for us. And also the fact that we are very much open to exploration and welcoming people from all over the world. I think we've always been good at that. And there is plenty of opportunity from whichever country you're coming from, I'm sure, to bring a robust, strong business to our nation. So the door's open. You know, it's we're very much up for collaboration, myself and indeed my co-speakers. And we'd love to welcome you to London. I should be back next Wednesday, and you know, I'm very much open to helping people. So I'd be delighted to hear from you, and thank you for the opportunity, Soleil, for arranging this. I know it took a lot of effort, and indeed the whole team, and Darius for your extremely professional presentation skills. You obviously done this many times before, and thank you very much indeed. And I look forward to working with you. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you. Thank you, Richard. Okay, so the last presenter, you already heard from Soleil just at the very beginning. She introduced herself, so gave a little bit of background. So as you know, Soleil is a director at the family office in London, and she works with ultra high net worth clients and high net worth clients to develop the global wealth strategies aligned with goals and ensuring actually regulatory, legal, and compliance requirements. So in effect, she helps to navigate through that sort of regulatory, tax, immigration type framework. So before again Soleil starts, I mean there is a short poll. So let's bring that up and then let pass the floor to Soleil. So the question is, where would you like to live? London, any other European city, or somewhere else around the world? Should be diverse set of answers as well, presumably, but. Okay, excellent. The vast majority would choose London to live in, and any other European city quarter view, and somewhere else. So that's interesting. So Soleil, the floor is yours. Looks like, you know, a number of people would be looking to live in London. So go ahead with your presentation.
Excellent. Thank you very much for, first of all, for amazing presentation for Soleil and Richard. You gave an amazing background information, and my presentation is very focused in terms of why choose London to invest, operate, or relocate. And I'm just focusing on what do you need to know, and primarily what my clients ask me or the surprises that they come across. So next slide, please, Julie. So we'll just make it short and sweet. And what do you need to know as you invest? I use the word operate for doing business in the UK, and relocate. Next slide, please. So when you're investing in the UK, the type of investment will dictate the correct structure. So the type of investment, it could be an investment portfolio, whether it is with a private bank or asset management company. But it could be real projects, like real estate projects, whether it is commercial or residential property. Then there may be you may be investing in funds or businesses here in the UK. So the way you need to prepare yourself. And I also need to explain what I mean by a structure, because it's a very common for us here as professionals in the UK. Structure is very, very common word. It's like the same as like it's a great weather or the sun is shining. But I understand if you're coming from overseas, it's like you don't really, you may be hearing it for a very first time. And I guess the shock comes, oh, that you actually may need an offshore legal entity to make investments in the UK. So the structure, what it is a vehicle, but a vehicle, it can be an English company, an offshore company, any other company, or any other legal entity. That also can be entities that do not have legal personality, such as trusts. And these structures come into place because when you are coming in, you need to align yourself and divorce assets from your person. And it's also about bringing your capital in and also taking it outside after your investment matures. So this is when we start working with you, this is what we look at, how you're going to bring the capital and how you're going to take it out. And why we call it a structure, because it's tax aligned structure. So you are getting a position that is tax efficient. And to answer why you may need an offshore legal entity to make investments in the UK, it mainly gives you an opportunity to set your tax liability at 0 point. So you are not creating any tax liability in the UK. And again, it will go and work between the different asset classes. So this may be case in certain investments. So for instance, residential properties, they have changed a lot. And when we were able to allow the investors to take money tax-free and also sell properties tax-free, this may no longer be possible, but it depends on the structure and also your investment history. And so there are very interesting opportunities that you need to explore before you choose to invest somewhere. So you'll have to ask how I'm going to invest and how I'm going to take my capital back with a premium effectively. Next slide, please. Operating in the UK is an interesting jurisdiction, because one of the reasons why you would want to be operating in the UK is you would be looking to sell your products and services in the UK. But UK, as Asel has mentioned before, it's like has an amazing reputation. So for instance, if you're operating from your home country, you may not be able to reach other jurisdictions, but you would need to consider UK as entry point to other jurisdictions. So for instance, if I'm working with my French clients or Italian clients, they want to utilize an English legal entity to access other markets, and primarily this could be US markets. Then we also have clients trading within the European Union, and I can tell you hands-on that before Brexit, English company was the best way to operate in the European Union. And that's obviously there will be certain changes, but it's still reliable medium. And one of the things, like if you want to trade to China and other difficult jurisdictions, depending on the sanctions list, this could be your entry point. So when we talk about selling your products or services in the UK, so what the minimum footprint that you can create in the UK is to hire your sales team in the UK or relocate your salespeople from your home country to the UK. So I just wanted to let you know that, you know, the sales team are extremely experienced here in the UK, and they understand the market, and they know how to sell into the most competitive market segments within the UK. And that's why perhaps you would need to consider to hire like a highly specific, highly professional, highly experienced sales team in the UK. The next point of coming into the UK is establishing a branch for your business in the UK. And the branch doesn't really necessarily create a footprint, a taxable footprint for you in the UK. But what it does, you can have a marketing office. You can open a marketing office, and you can still conclude your sales from your home country without creating a taxable footprint here in the UK. The third option is setting up a permanent establishment in the UK. And permanent establishment is actually UK international tax term. And what it means, you are creating a taxable footprint in the UK. So the way it looks like, you incorporate a legal entity in the UK, and you create a cost center in the UK, which is effectively is a subsidiary of your home company in your home country. So when we are talking about utilizing UK as a jurisdiction to sell your services or products to the rest of the world, first a step will be to consider choosing the right structure for your business. And then you need to be aware that there are English holding companies and English trading companies, and this will affect some tax considerations. So for instance, the holding companies are the ones for holding assets, and they could be holding a number of different subsidiaries across the world. And English trading companies are the vehicle to pursue international trade through the UK to the rest of the world. Next slide, please. And when we are talking about relocating, so there are a number of points that come into play. And what you need to know is that you actually, UK is a very sophisticated jurisdiction, and you need to organize your overseas assets before you relocate to the UK. And this is like the first point that you need to be considering. The second point is you need to be able to plan UK tax liability. It's basically, the jurisdiction is fairly stable, and it will allow you to plan your UK tax liability in advance. And obviously the third is choosing the correct UK immigration category for you and your family. And this is very important because it's becoming more and more difficult to come to the UK. And earlier this year, for instance, Invista visa category was completely abolished. It was terminated with immediate effect. So you're not able to come to the UK on the basis of investment. Then also, like if you're a holder of EU passport and you haven't been to the UK before, it's not so easy to come here to the UK anymore. And if you are from overseas and you're being sold Maltese or Cypriot passports or any other European passports or even Caribbean passports, because in the Caribbean you are able to buy citizenship by investment. So you need to be aware that this option is not really working anymore, because UK has its own rules about who it's going to let in to live in the UK. And a very important another aspect is that when you're choosing correct immigration category, you need to be aware that you need to be able to come on the route that will allow you to settle. And to settle means to remain indefinitely in the UK, because there are a number of immigration categories, such as like students, other temporary categories where you're allowed to come for a short while to the UK, but you're not allowed to remain. So this is something that you need to be aware beforehand, and you need to have the right advice beforehand. And for instance, if your business is doing really, really well overseas, one of the things that in UK Department for International Trade was contacting very well performing companies based outside the EU and wanting to invite them to the UK in order to expand their operations. And this is where you need to know that you need to be working with an advisor like myself in order to make sure that not only you expand your operations, but you also receive the correct immigration category for you and your family, and also you organize your business in a tax efficient manner. And next slide, please. So these are my contact details, and the best way to contact me is saule@familyofficeinlondon.com, and also you're welcome to visit the website. Thank you very much, and now we're going to Q&A.
Excellent. Many thanks, Saule. On the Q&A, I haven't seen, because I think we have several sort of folders here on the chat and questions. So I haven't seen any questions. I don't know if Kimberly has anything on her screen that you see any questions that popped up. If not, if any of the participants, please feel free to either raise your hand or just type in the question. We'll try to address it. If there are no questions, maybe we can sort of speak a little bit with the panelists a little bit, maybe sort of highlights a few things. I mean, from a sales presentation, it was quite interesting on the commercial property. So maybe that first question I'll throw in. I mean, for Sal, maybe when you see your clients looking at commercial property versus residential property, I mean, what are the typical sort of pros and cons? I mean, the commercial property is more attractive for a number of people to invest in. I guess it depends also on the setup and the amount of capital being invested. But what's your sort of general experience with clients? They tend to invest in commercial property or residential property as investment?
Our clients invest in both commercial and residential. And it depends on what kind of, whether you're investing long-term or short-term. Some of the clients just buy property, develop, and then sell. Some clients buy property, develop, and then let it out. So if it's residential, a lot of clients buy just townhouses or blocks of flats, and then they already with tenants. Some of them are vacant, and redevelop them and let them to new tenants, probably after improving the property. So we do work with both commercial and residential, but I like commercial more.
Exactly. Okay, came in. Okay, Kaleem is asking, any idea about the minimum revenue required to invest in the UK? So I guess that sort of comes in as the investor requirement. So on Saule, probably that question to address very well.
Yes, so
I guess revenue for business. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so it really depends what you call an investment, because an investment could be business, it can be a project, and then it could be an investment portfolio. So there would be some banks, in the UK, for instance, they will have some set certain margins, that how they define their ideal client, and also I can also compare with the Swiss banks as well. So there are some Swiss banks that will require a minimum investment of 250,000 Swiss francs, which is not very high requirement, and which can be accessible to some of the clients. Then some Swiss banks, even located within London, they would require a minimum investment of 2 million upwards. But also there are some Swiss banks operating within London that would also arrange very good a lending facility for you to buy residential or commercial property. So some of them best portfolios that I saw, some banks would be prepared to lend up to 75%. Obviously, it's historically, and it's more like an exception than the rule, but it's usually 50-50 as much as the property real estate is concerned. Some banks, like they would say, give me 5 million to make investments, and I lend you your 5 million to buy property in the UK. So it's a very interesting combination, and also that is may correct me if I'm wrong, but for instance, for Merrill Lynch, the minimum investment is about 6 million because there are 6 different asset classes within investments. So it's 1 million each. Again, so it's really depending what is it you're looking for, and in terms of properties as well. Some residential properties, if you're looking in Mayfair, so you need to be prepared to spend more than 2 million, depending on the type and size of the property. Then there are also different options. So it's depending how much you want to invest, and then there would be projects available. So for instance, even before the war in Ukraine, there were Russian banks, Russian commercial institutions looking to invest in the UK and that the choice was real estate. So we were contacted by these institutions, basically saying we want to offload $500 million, find us a project. So this can happen as well.
Okay, I think we're nearing very close to the finish line, but maybe a question or two still to ask. Maybe I'll throw in the question, and any of you panelists, if you want to comment on this, how do you see whether your clients or activity? I mean, is it increasing since the Brexit? Particularly now we have the geopolitical risk, of course, and we have a number of things. But since Brexit, I mean, do you see more interest for the doing business in the UK, investing in the UK, relocating? Or you see sort of subsided? And again, there are different other factors, geopolitical factors around the world, the macro factors and so on, but general sense that you got in the last sort of 5 years or so. Is it more activity in the UK before the Brexit, or is it sort of flat, or is it declining? I mean, so sort of general short question.
I'll take the floor, and then you can add on to it. So my experience is because I primarily deal with immigration. So during because we are talking Brexit, but we also talking pandemic. So and that was the thing. Especially if I deal with the clients coming from the UK, from overseas to the UK, and there are no flights, it's kind of not possible to come in even for visa purposes. So there was a complete standstill. And also before the pandemic, I onboarded very good Middle East clients with amazing projects in Saudi Arabia, for instance. But everything went downhill because the global pandemic was there, and then one of the responses from my clients was, "Oh, it's only sick people are going on planes, so obviously I'm not taking that plane." So it's like it's very interesting, but when we are talking about Brexit, like European clients, for instance, so it was very interesting to see that they identified UK as an opportunity where they suddenly had to be there because it fits their business. So that was interesting revelation. And obviously we are now dealing with a conflict in Ukraine and then war proposition. So obviously there was a lot of traffic from Ukraine, and some people also were of European origin living in Ukraine, and they wanted they didn't have intention of living in the UK. And then in the end, like, okay, so where do I go? I explored several countries in Europe. Like I was looking Italy, I was looking Spain, I was looking Portugal. And then the answer was, my children are actually in private education here in the UK, and I need to be in the UK as well.
Okay. Any other comments, Asalo or Richard?
Yeah, sorry. You go,
Yes, I'll go
Fred.
ahead. Okay, I guess Richard, you're ready. So let's yep.
Yeah, look, there's a lot of our partners that have come from many parts of the world are actually on a huge bounce back. They've been, everyone's been realized the value of travel. And so during the last 2 years, that stopped a lot of our partners coming to the UK to meet, obviously, because of the flights, because of COVID, and also the fact that clients wouldn't want to meet with them. But what it made people do is discover Zoom and Teams and everything else, which has been around for a long time. But it's changed the way we work. I believe it's made us more efficient, and there are a lot of companies in the Baltic states now that we represent that are wanting to come and see our customers, and that have already done business, and some of them haven't even met before, and have done business with contractors coming over. So it's a tremendous opportunity. I think that now is, as far as investing in property and everything else, there's always opportunity. And if you look at the residential and indeed commercial buildings and redevelopments and regeneration that's happening in London, a lot of our partners are interested in coming, visiting, meeting some very large companies and doing business. So it's a very exciting period for us.
And for us, it didn't really make much difference because we've got clients, investors from all over the world. And they've been active before, they're active now, they will be active in the future.
Clear. Thank you. Thank you very much. I think we near the time, unless there is last burning question from anyone, but otherwise we're close to the end. I think somebody asked whether the slides would be distributed that you presented. I'm assuming the panelists.
I just replied. Yeah. I just replied to that question that it wasn't attended, but okay. If there is something you're particularly interested in, just let me know, and we can look into it.
Exactly. If there are questions or anything on the contact details, please refer to Saule, and she can address those. Okay, so for concluding remarks, Saule, if you want to give a last minute or two concluding remarks, and we will complete today's webinar.
Okay, thank you very much, everyone, and thank you for still staying with us during this webinar. I thank the attendees, I thank panelists Richard and Asal, and our moderator Darius, and a special thank you to Kimberly and Julie, who did a great job in making sure this webinar is a success. And the idea is to host at least 2 webinars a year, and the next planned webinar is in March. And if there is something that you would be interested to participate in this next webinar, just let me know, and let me know if there are topics that you're interested in, so I can also double check with the speakers. And then what I want you to do is actually, I want you to go on LinkedIn and go to our webinar invite and comment how amazing and helpful it was, so that other people could join and see value like you did as well. And thank you very much once again. And you're always welcome to send me an email, saule@familyofficeinlondon.com, and visit the website. Thank you so much once again to everybody.